Roxy.
A good afternoon, Tam Tam. It's getting closer and closer to my bedtime.
I know I'm always so frustrated when I see you. I'm like, you're in the good spot when we can shut up from life and go to sleep.
I know you still have a full day ahead of you, but hey, you can always tell me how tomorrow is.
Yes, I can do that. I don't know about you, but my kids have just been going to bed so late, like around, I don't know what it is. It's like they're so excited about these fucking elves. You know the elves? Have you put the elf on the shelf out?
On the shelf. We can't find
them, and I'm like, fuck.
We cannot find our elf on our shelf, and our daughter keeps asking us about William. That's his name, William.
William.
Yes, and so I looked online to try to buy them. They're sold out everywhere because I was like, I can't find fucking William. Where is he?
Maybe you just tell her like she's been really good this year, so she doesn't need elf on the shelf. But I use them like literally. I'm like, since I can't yell at my child because I actually have to like do gentle parenting and I have to like find solutions instead of just go back to like what our parents did and just like smack us on the butt. We have to.
I like this commitment, Tam, and commitment.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? So now that I don't have to be the fucking bad guy, I'm just gonna make the elf on the fucking shelf be the bad guy. So every time that Phoenix or Lennon do something wrong, I literally just put the elf on the shelf on their beds, and then they walk out and they have this huge panic attack. They're like, "Oh my god, how did they know about the markers on the text? What you guys call them, Sharpies?" I'm like, they know, they're watching you. So now they're the bad guy, and like I'm just the perfect, gentle parent.
I mean, this is something we can all learn from. We got to get to the gentle parenting. It's so hard though around the holidays because it's like,
yeah, I don't want a gentle parent. No.
There's no, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because every 2 seconds, I want to get this. I want this for Christmas. I want like to do this and this and this. And there's just like a laundry list of like everything to do. And it's like, I always feel behind the 8 ball. It's always and just like it brings out so much emotion this time of year.
I know. And what's frustrating for my daughter too is like she can't understand why there's Christmas gifts that she can't like open. So what she does is what I used to do as a kid. So like I can't be really frustrated or angry about it. She like opens the corner and then she'll like sneak it in. She'll be like, "Oh, it's a pink box." And then I'll be like, "What are you doing?" But they can't. They have no patience whatsoever. No. But to be honest, like I do that now as an adult. Like I'm in my 30s and I'm like, what the fuck did Sean get me for Christmas? So, like I'll go peek like it's just an absolute loser. Like who does that? Who can't wait till Christmas to see if you got like a Chanel bag, for God's sake? Like,
okay, so is that what? Okay, did you tell him you wanted a Chanel bag this year?
I haven't got presents honestly for years. Okay, and this is the reason.
Okay,
I've asked for no presents because my husband and I are building a future together, and I feel like it's all our money. I feel like I work so hard, he works so hard, so it's kind of like I'm buying myself an expensive gift. I don't know. I just feel like, because we've been living in that minimalist state in the last couple of years, like I buy kids presents, I'll buy friends presents. Yes, I'll get you your vibrator that you're looking for, Roxy, the one with the reusable. Just make sure you don't lose those fucking batteries because you only have one charger. But I will get you your vibrator. But for me, I'm just like, I don't know, like I can just go get my vibrator myself. You know what I mean?
But will you go and buy the Chanel bag for yourself?
No, I wouldn't. So that is your gift to me. Thank you.
Okay. Sign me up. Fine.
Look, if someone else buys me a Chanel bag, it's not like I'm going to be like, I don't want the Chanel bag. Like, yes, I want the Chanel bag, but I don't want to buy it myself.
I mean, I get it. It's a big commitment. It is a big commitment. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if our next guest can talk about like what gifts he's got his wife or what gifts he wants, because this guest is someone that I don't even know. You know how we talk about manifestation a lot? Like I remember that like I was just sitting on my bed and just like going through like TikTok. I just started TikTok about a year ago. And my husband sent me a video of one of theirs and was like, "Oh, these people, like we would be friends with them because they're kind of like," would be so lucky to be like them, but like they're kind of like us. They're just kind of wild and crazy. And I was like, let me see. And then I was just so addicted. And I was like, oh my God, they still have the sense of humor that we have. Super open, super honest, create incredible content, also vulnerable, talk about mental health issues that me and my husband also have. So I'm just so grateful that, he came on the show. So who do we have, Roxy?
So we have a composer. He has an amazing YouTube channel. He's all over social media. He has done so much. He's worked with like some really pretty amazing bands. I mean, we're talking like Depeche Mode, Susie Sue, Primal Scream.
He's worked on the amazing like Spider-Man 2,
Spider-Man
James
2.
Bond.
I mean, There's so much that he has accomplished already. And he and I share the same birthday.
Are you joking?
Nope. I am dead serious. February 7th, baby.
The best day of the year. Well, welcome, Stephen Hilton.
Woo!
Thank you. It's meant to be. Same birthday.
It was meant to be. See, fellow Aquarians unite, right?
Right.
My first question is, do you want a vibrator for Christmas?
Vibrators in our house. For some reason, like Laura gets sent a vibrator a week. Like everyone assumes that we want or need vibrate. They just show up. It's like literally everywhere I look, there's and crazy. It's absolutely. We were just talking about it today. It's insane.
Well, you know what? Vibrators are really expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that you now know what gifts to give people. They keep giving.
Right.
Yeah, because I would never buy myself that. I would never buy myself a vibrator because you know what? Like I these days I feel like they're too intense. It's like we've made it. They're a little intense for me, right?
Yeah, it's true, right?
This could, yeah. There's just this so wherever I look. And yeah, it's a thing, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do? You guys do gifts like you and Laura, or do you guys like pass on the gifts and just kind of gift the kids? What is your
we do gifts. It's normally we're into like clothes as gifts. So something, I don't want to say too much in case she hears this, but I'm on the lookout for something special.
Oh, I'd love some clothes too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not that you have to give me clothes. I'm just saying to my husband, if he's listening, yes, I would like clothes. You're like, this weird girl from this podcast was like, please get me clothes. I'm like, what is happening? So we have so much to dive into. You know, I was telling you that my husband and I like work in a bit of in the social media world, and he'll be like, sure. Not like us, but you know, it's really hard I find like when my husband and I are aggressive towards each other or fight is normally around work. Like my husband's a director and he's a writer. So we did a movie together and I was just telling him how his opinions were all wrong. And he's like, I'm the director of this film. I'm like, yeah, I know. But did you do my close up with the right light? So when you guys work together, is that dynamic easy? And that's why you've been so successful? Or is it like more combative?
We definitely, our thing is we don't tend to, when the phone, in our case it's always a phone, it's not a camera, when the phone starts recording, we don't really change unless we're doing a sort of sketch. There's not that much of a difference. So if we're having an argument, it will come across on the vlog, or you know, we don't really sugarcoat stuff, and that's just kind of how we are. And I think that's people tell us that's what they like, and it's just, yeah, we just try to, we don't. And I think the other thing about the way us working together is I never wanted to get into, I'm a composer and I was working with scoring films, and I never wanted to be in sketches or be on social or anything like that. I wasn't anti it, but I also never had, you know, necessarily do it. But when Laura started on Instagram, like in 2015, she was an actress, and she did sitcoms and commercials and stuff like that. And she was like, I'm done with like having my, you know, my destiny being in someone else's hands and having to mission to create. And I was like, well, I've heard of this thing, Instagram, this photo thing. They do video, and you should try that, because I think there's funny people coming up on that, and Vine had been out. And she said, I'm gonna just make a video a day. She's the thing I admire about Laura is when she gets something in her head, she's very focused and she's very committed to it. She's like, I'm going to do a video a day for a year, and I'm calling my agent and manager and telling them to stop sending me out for auditions. And this was pure faith. And it was like, no one watched at the beginning. The first video she put up, she took straight down again because literally no one saw it. And we just, because she was on this schedule of like, I'm going to do a video a day for a year, I ended up being in some of them just by accident. And and like I say, we didn't change. We would be talking about something, we just turn the phone on, and that would be what we'd post that day. And then those things started. Laura had a big viral video with a character about 4 months in, and then sort of people started coming to the channel, and then we just carried on making videos together. And then she had that character with the square face, the Helen, and that just completely blew up, and that's where it started. And it's so much fun. Like I still love it now. And I think the good thing is because I come from a completely different world. I don't acting. I don't get it at all. I just, you know, I say what I'm thinking, and she's from the acting world. So we come from such polar opposites. It's hard to combat over the
something that
So,
you know, I think one of the things that really caught my eye on your YouTube videos was the fact that you guys are so open and honest. You know, you really talk about everything. I mean, there's really nothing off the table. And one of the things you talk about is mental health, but also addiction, which I know has been a journey for you, you know, and you don't make, you know, you don't mince words. You really put it out there regarding relapsing and, you know, taking it, you know, again, just another, you know, step at a time. So when you were starting, was that always kind of like once you started getting into making these videos, was that like, okay, now we're going to, you know, be very open and honest about this side of life as well? Or how did that kind of come about?
Like everything, it's a happy accident. I feel like this whole journey has just been completely accidental, and I'd never planned any of it. And I was 6 years sober a couple of years ago. And Laura said, oh, you should make a video about you're being sober. And I was like, oh, maybe I should just, and I'm in support groups, and very often in those groups you'll do like a lead at a meeting, and you'll sit and you tell your story. And I was like, I just tell my story. And I did that, and that video just sort of really resonated with people, and it was overwhelming, just the incredible amount of people, you know, reaching out, asking for help. Like, how do I do this? What did you specifically do? How, you know, how do I get started on becoming sober? How do you go without, you know, having to use and drink every day? And I was a very serious drug addict and alcoholic, because I mean, I was addicted to all the drugs, sex, alcohol, everything. Like I just got this personality where if you put something in my system and it can distract me from life, I'll just do it until there's no more left. And I'll keep being obsessed with it and just keep doing it. And it's so, I feel like the story that I told was just the honest story of what happened, but it's quite extreme. And people really resonated with it. And I was like, wow, I can't answer all these people individually. So I'm just going to go through the steps of the support of Alcoholics Anonymous I'm in. And there's always some people say you shouldn't talk about it. And my sponsor told me I can tell people I'm in it, but I can't tell people he's in it. So the way I think, because some people are like, you shouldn't talk about AA publicly, but I want to help people, and that's how I did it. So if everyone's asking, how did you do it? I'm not going to keep it a secret. So yeah, and so in AA we did the 12 steps. So I thought I'll make 12 videos, video step 1 through 12, and it just the amount that it resonated with people. I just thought at the end of it, I'm just going to keep. The idea was to go around and talk about step 1 again. And then I was like, oh, actually, this happened this week. I thought about relapsing. My dog was prescribed Xanax. I had it in my hand. I was thinking, I'm going to just take all the Xanax. And after 6 years sober, I'm not going to tell Laura. I'm still going to go to meetings. I'm going to keep it secret. I'm going to be off my, and it's going to be, this is, you know, life's hard. This Xanax will be my solution, and no one will know. And I was like, I'm going to talk about that. I'm just going to put the phone on and just treat it like an AA meeting and talk about that I wanted to relapse. And since then, it's just been a journey of, I think also with COVID, the meetings, real life meetings stopped. So Zoom. So for me, making a video is like going to an online Zoom meeting. So like a natural extension of what I was taught to be sober. Yeah.
I got my brain scanned with Dr. Aman recently, and I got diagnosed with ADHD because I've always had problems, being a child actor. I was an actor from 14 years old, and he talks about dopamine dumps, and it seems so egotistical to be like, well, fame is trauma, but it actually is, because it's the same thing, right? And that's what drugs and alcohol do. They give you like these dopamine dumps. And when I got my brain scanned about a year ago, about 7 months ago, and I was petrified to put it out there. Like, I was petrified to look weak. I was petrified to feel like I had failed in some way, or that I wasn't perfect, or that the world would see through the cracks. And I actually had so much anxiety, which I've struggled with my whole life, before I put that video out. And then when I put it out, obviously it's a cathartic release. Like, people feel great. They don't feel great, but they understand you more, and then it helps them.
Yeah.
But I'm always like teetering on that line of like, what is sharing too much? Like, when is it not okay? And my husband and I talk about this a lot, because like he's a director and a writer. Like, he never wanted to be in front of the camera. He doesn't, I just posted a TikTok, and two of us are in wigs, and he's just being wild and crazy. And like, he likes it because it's fun, but that's not exactly what he wants to do. But he's fine with it because it's a character.
Yeah.
But he would never want to sit and talk about like some of the trauma he's had, because he can't do it. Now I do, but he can't. So do you feel like there's a line, and like, are there things that you don't say? Because I know there's like a few subjects that I don't talk about, and that's probably because I might feel so much shame, or have my own, or maybe I just want to keep that secret. Are there any things that you wouldn't touch on?
I don't know if it's something in my makeup, but no, there's nothing off the table. And I'll talk about anything. I'm going to be going into different areas on my channel, which is kind of, it is going to be difficult, but I feel like when you shine a light on something, for me anyway, if I'm a secret, if I'm keeping something secret,
right.
and it's just that I do it on a bigger scale, and it's, as I say, it's I think it is because COVID, meetings stopped. I couldn't talk to this alcoholic, to that sponsor in person, so I started sharing online. And I think that there's nothing that I wouldn't talk about, I don't think.
Like, what about your relationship? Like, if my husband and I were fighting or having issues, I probably wouldn't say it, only because I don't know why. Probably just
Tammy,
because I would feel like
Tammy, you do say it on the podcast.
Yeah, but I'm like, Sean and I fought about like, the fact that he bought the wrong tortillas, or like, we fought over we do stuff like that. But if there was any deep, again, we're in a great place, but if there's any like deep things with like certain relationships, or just like, I would probably want to not talk about that. Whereas some people are fine to, because it helps other people in their own relationships. It's just, there are things I think, I don't know. That's just an interesting idea or question.
Laura's very open about stuff like that as well. And it's funny because I'm going to have to, she just finished her new book, and that's insanely honest about our relationship. And it's got that I want to address in videos. And it's gonna be like, what I found is if I make a video and I feel sick before I hit publish, it's the one that's gonna.
I know. God, I like don't want to post. Yeah, it's interesting.
It's so true. And if I'm like, oh, that's a nice video, no, it won't. Just for me, and I'm sure it's different for everyone. And I have a lot of addicts. I've got a lot of addicts that follow me, and I think that it's always the ones I feel the most sick about that resonate, because I'm digging into myself and going, look at that horrible thing. Look at that horrible thing. And then people are like, oh, I've got that too. And they want to, identify. But it's hard. And I don't know if it's right. I've often think, am I doing the right thing? But I just have to follow my heart. And if I feel like it's the right thing to do, I have to. And it's also training from being in the program for 17 years that's taught me that to talk about stuff.
So when did you, because I know you've also had a recent diagnosis of autism, which you are also very honest about. what was that process like of getting diagnosed? I mean, like kind of wanting to seek that out, the diagnosis. What were you, questioning things that were happening, or were there certain signs that you were noticing? What sort of led you to that journey?
It was my son, Alfie. He's autistic, and he was diagnosed in June. Mm-hmm. And that was it was a shock. It was a big shock. It was just such a big, scary word. And like, now I realize that autism isn't a negative thing, and it's a beautiful thing. And with him, I love his difference, and I love the fact that he won't go to a playground and go down a slide. He'll get things and put them on the slide. He just has a totally different perspective, and I love that now. But when I first heard the word autism and I looked it up online, all I heard was horror stories. And I remember it was like, it's very selfish. Like, I was so devastated. I was like, it's a selfish thing to say now, because I know I was like, I'm just going to kill myself. Like, that's the solution to this problem. I'm just going to end it. His life is. But then I sort of came to terms with it. We started working with him, and therapists came, and he has speech, he has OT, and music therapy was huge. And when I saw that boy connect with music, I was like, wait, that's like me. And then I was looking back at other things he did, and there was like a laundry list of things that he'd been doing for years that I called my mum and I said, did I do this? She's like, yeah, all of them. Wow. I was like, what? She said, yeah, you were antisocial. You wanted friends to leave. You'd cry. She had to get a job at the nursery because I would have a meltdown if she left. So she had to actually get a job there. It was that bad. And I was like, oh my God, all these a funny, interesting one was she sent Alfie a truck, and she said, if you watch what he does, I bet he turns it on upside down and spins the wheels. That's a classic autism sign. And she's like, that's exactly what, so he'll do that because that's what you did. I was like, oh my God, and I wanted to speak to Dr. Arman because he done the brain scan and we got on really well, and we've been talking ever since. And I was like, there's one person to ask about this, and it's him. And we did the whole diagnosis, and I understand Alfie so much more now, and I realize it's not, it can be a beautiful life and an extraordinary life, and I can see that now. And autism doesn't have to be feared. And all I could find was negative stories. I don't know if I was looking in the wrong place. TikTok is brilliant for positive autism. I was just looking at YouTube, and I was just seeing these horror stories. But now I realize, it can be an incredible life, and I identify with him so much. And I think that I got a lot of my success in music from all I can trace it back to autism. The special best, the hyper-focused obsession, the not being social, being able to spend 24 hours at a time working on a piece of music. So for me, that's all my autism. I realize.
Is there part of you, I know that it's like, it's a lot of perspective, right? But, when I was diagnosed with ADHD, I was like, fuck, I wish I'd known this 10 years ago. It's very easy to blame, and it's very easy to go, well, why didn't my parents see it? But I don't actually think that I was born with ADHD. I think autism is different. I think I actually developed it, which actually can happen from years of brain trauma or whatever it is. But I was just mad. I know mad is just a form of being, anger is just a form. It's not a primary emotion. So obviously it's just coming from pain. But I was just mad that I didn't know about this earlier, because I felt like I could have understood myself. I could have liked myself better. I could have accepted myself better. I probably could have designed my life differently so that I would go, because I'm like Laura in the way that, when I'm specifically on something, nothing else can come into my sphere. I am so good at hitting deadlines, but if I'm wishy-washy, if I'm not that interested, my ADHD is all over the place. So, I wish I could have been a superpower. It could have been something that I really could have leaned into. Were you frustrated that it took so long to find that out? Or did you just accepted it and then just thought, well, this is kind of who I am. I'm a little different and I'm just going to, play on these differences? Or would you have liked that diagnosis earlier?
now I look back and now I see it as, I really think it's the reason that I was able to be successful in music. So it gave me an incredible life. So I kind of love it, to be honest. I don't because back in the 70s in England, I don't think autism wasn't even a thing. I think that it was, I don't think my parents would have even thought, I don't think doctors would have even diagnosed it. Now, I don't know, but I certainly, I don't regret not finding out earlier, because what's happened, I'm very happy with how it sort of affected me.
And with your son, what is his prognosis with autism, and how are you guys using that to parent him now?
Well, it's a very interesting diagnosis, because it's very fluid. So he got diagnosed super young, and we took him to the psychiatrist, and I pushed for the diagnosis because everyone said to me, you have to get a diagnosis, and so we took him in, and she said he's level 3, which is most severe, and like I couldn't believe it because he didn't seem like that. But then she said I wouldn't give a kid under 3 anything more than a 2, because if he's in here this young, it's severe enough for you to notice, but it can change. So the interesting thing, Dr. Arman said that I'm a level 2. So 1 is the least severe. I don't know if they still use this system actually, but it's a scale of 1 to 3. And
can I just interrupt? What are the different traits and things to look out for level 1, 2, and 3? Like, what are the different characteristics?
Well, apparently level 1 you wouldn't notice in a child because it comes that you'd notice the traits later in life. For me, I mean, the first thing I noticed, well, with Alfie, the big thing was the regression in speech. He was progressing well, and then he stopped talking, and he stopped, the eye contact stopped. That's a big one. We never really, now I look back, he never really did a lot of eye contact. He never pointed, he never clapped. Like I say, play with cars, he would turn them upside down, spin the wheels, and sort of rub them on himself rather than playing like other kids do. And those were all signs, but the big one was the regression of speech. But the amazing thing, since I've got my diagnosis, I feel like we've connected, and in a much deeper way, and I can really see when he's having meltdowns, I can really get into his head. I really know where he's coming from. And in the last month, he's made a lot of progress. It's really important. So I feel like he's doing really well. And music therapy has been huge for him. He loves music therapy. And we got speech therapy and stuff. But I feel like he's heading in the right direction for sure. So that's encouraging.
What has being a father, because you have 2 little ones close together. So it happened, my husband, I think, was your age when he had his first kid, and I'm younger than he is. So like it happened earlier in my life, but it happened to you quite close together. So what has having children and being a father taught you about yourself?
Wow. I mean, the level of love that I experience for these little creatures is just, I mean, it's unbelievable. I can't describe. I never would have thought it was, I mean, it's possible, and it's totally fundamentally changed me. It's really hard to put it into words because it's such a huge thing. But I feel like I'm a totally different person. There's no words to describe the difference. And I just love being a dad so much. It's like, I mean, I want to say that it's made me less focused on other things, but it hasn't changed me in that way. I'm still I'm still into doing what we do as well. But it's hard to put into it. I think I'm a better person now.
More empathetic, more.
Yeah.
I think it's made me a worse person, Roxy. Just kidding. I'm mean. I'm stressed. I don't have enough sex. There's all these things now.
Sleep for sure.
No sleep.
Yeah.
No, I do. I think, what do you think, Rox? I think I think, what has children done to me? I think children like we were saying before, Roxy, like made me relive life again. Like I feel like I've been born again. Like I'm seeing the world. Colors are more colorful and smells are stronger, and even the bad emotions too. Like the intensity of fear is probably greater because there's safety. And I sat last night and looked at my daughter, my 2.5-year-old, and just cried. Like, not because I was, it's tears we think is just about sadness. It was kind of all of it was loss. It was loss of them as they're growing, and I can see them, like their skin's changing. Like they wake up sometimes and they look different.
Yeah.
And it's just like every time they look different, my heart gets broken just a little more. And it's like, but everything is just more intense. The pain, the everything, and then the beauty. So I don't know. You're right. There's no rewards.
I think vulnerability too. Like like having a daughter. I think maybe even a daughter. Well, I think I'd probably feel the same way with a son too. But I just feel like I'm so much more vulnerable as a person. Like I'm so much more open to, sharing that part of myself and like being. But it's like I wouldn't trade all of that for like the world, because that's part of like the beauty of the entire package.
They see you naked. They see your bullshit. Like,
yes.
The other day I was so snappy because I was so stressed. And I said to my daughter, I was like, I'm really sorry. I don't remember my parents saying sorry. We talk about this too. Like, I don't remember our parents saying sorry for for being very intense. And I said to her, I'm really sorry about how I treated you today. Just, I was really snappy. And she goes, it's okay. You're doing your best. I was like, oh my God. It's like, you say vulnerability. Like they see you, right? They see your soul, and there's no bullshit. Like as we get into adults, we have so many covers and so many masks, and we just walk into life of like how we want people to view us. But they just don't have that. And I'm sure even with autism, they probably have that less. They care less about what they're showing in the world, So yeah.
Interesting.
Was that something, did you always want to be a father, Stephen? Was that something you always wanted? Or was it like kind of once you met Laura, you kind of saw that picture? Because I know for me, I sort of was on this, like, I'm just going to work, I'm going to travel. I always wanted to be married and like have a, a partner. But I was never sold on the idea of wanting to be a mom. I was kind of like, I want to be selfish. Like I want to enjoy my time. But then, it happened, and, I was a little scared, being pregnant, like wondering what was to come. But then, of course, it's turned out to be the best thing ever, and I wouldn't ever trade it in the world. So I came from sort of like the other side of the track. So I'm interested to know if like it was something you always wanted.
I always wanted kids, but I never met the right person until Laura, and that's when I realized, this is going to be when it happens. But I did always want them. Yeah.
Do you think you have more? Wait, is there something you're about to say?
Oh, no. You can make the announcement here.
Are you making the announcement? He's like, no, I will make it on our show, on our social media. Let's see how good you're acting your way through this right now.
Let's see.
I'm not against the idea, and I mean it's been a crazy year, but I would definitely have another one.
Oh.
It's hard. It's hard for my husband's like done, but I'm like, because it was so hard on your body. But I understand too, like you get to a certain part of your life, like you want to also like do the things and have time to do that too. So going back to like your business, what is the goal to grow your business? Like what are the next steps, and how are you guys growing your business? Like, do you have like writers, producers within your business, or are you doing everything yourself? Like what's the plan?
The funny thing is, again, we don't have this great master plan, and we're really not strategic about it at all. It's just you know, letting people into our lives is kind of just what we do, and it's just so lucky that it's just grown and blown up, and you know, I'm just so grateful for that. But there's no real, it was never sort of intended. There's no master plan behind it. We have tried when we right before we had Alfie, we tried, because we got to the point where we were thinking, well, we want to push our production level up a little bit and just experiment, like with the sketch ideas, like maybe like bringing in some cast and maybe working with some writers and stuff like that. And it was a disaster. It just didn't at all. It just totally didn't translate. Not only that, but the audience saw through it straight. They just weren't on board with it. And now I totally look back at that and I can go, I totally understand. We experimented with it. And yeah, every time we bring on a writer, it never works. Production as well. We do it all ourselves, pretty much. I mean, we have a great assistant. And we're about to bring on another one. And we've got, I mean, we got a great team of people that help us, but production and writing and even the shoot, we have a great DP though. He's really good. And Laura edits.
Who edits it? Does she edit it?
Yeah, Laura. She's I mean, we have an editor for our vlogs, because we were doing weekly vlogs and sketches, so we needed an editor for the vlogs. But Laura loves editing. That's one of her things she really loves doing. So
yeah, it sounds like you guys have a good team. I mean, you guys work well together too.
We do, yeah. I mean, we've, like I say, we've tried to sort of widen out the team, and it just never feels right. It never really works. So we've honed what we do to such an extent that we'll shoot it. If it's a sketch, if it's a vlog, we'll just shoot and send it to our editor to put together and note it. But if it's a sketch, we'll shoot with our DP, Laura will edit, and then I'll put the music on.
Do you batch content? Like we try to do 2 days a week. We'll do all the sketches and skits and TikToks and try to do that, because you have small kids, right? So like when you say writing, I mean, it'll be like a Sunday night. My husband and I will sit there for like 3 hours and think of ideas. Those are the things that people don't, when they watch it for 2 seconds, they have a laugh, they share it, great. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. You have to sit down, you have to constantly be thinking about new ideas and what you're doing. And there's time. We've got 2 small children. You know, so like, do you like try to plan, okay, we're going to do this on a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday? Like, how does that work with your kids?
I wish that. I really wish we did. We don't. We shoot and it goes up. That's it. There's not really a massive amount of thought, like analytical thought behind it. It's more just a or something. So it's pretty organic. And I mean, it would be a dream to do that, to have like a batch of stuff. The downside of that, of course, is that there's sometimes where we're like, we should shoot something now, but it's TikTok's great for just off the cuff. We love it. It's just brilliant.
It is. It's brilliant. Let's talk music. Always love music. So is there something that you're working on down the pipeline that you have not shared yet that you can share with us?
I mean, right now musically, I'm just doing I've got this thing with music. If I'm doing my own solo stuff. So, and the way I approach that is, if there's something that I want to hear that isn't already out there, I'll make it myself. And there was, I wanted Alfie to sleep, and I couldn't find the right music for him. I love Brian Eno and people like that, ambient sort of 70s composers and minimalist composers, but the pieces were too short. So I thought, okay, I'm going to make a piece of ambient music. I'm going to make it 8 hours long. I'm going to Alfie to sleep. And he liked it. And then I was like, oh, I should release this. Like, if people might like this and they might use it for their kids. So I didn't do it on Spotify because they don't allow 8 hours or Apple Music. So I put it up on YouTube. It blew up like straight away. And it's got like almost 1 million plays on Spotify. And it's people using it for themselves, which I didn't expect. People are like, I've got anxiety, I've got, I can't sleep, so I put it on for 12 hours. And it's just, so I've really been researching. I've been approaching writing music for mental health like a movie score. Like when you're writing music for a scene, you have an intention and you have to convey something. So I'm trying to say, okay, if you're anxious, what things work with anxious? And I looked into even like left field things like binaural beats and chakras and things like that. Frequencies that affect different chakras in your body. Experimenting with using different frequencies at different times. And it seems to really be working. It's crazy. Like I didn't expect that it would resonate like it has, but super into, I'm trying to make music for specific mental health things in a way. It's weird to explain it, but it's all on the YouTube, all the pieces.
We like to ask this question, like when you look back at your life and everything you've been through, what would you tell your younger self?
Perhaps don't worry so much.
Yeah, it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, be happy now. Ooh. That's what they wrote the song about, right?
Yeah. Oh, don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
But you even regret that, or was that just part of the story and part of the journey?
Yeah.
I don't really regret any of it. No, it was a huge part of the journey. Like if I take one thing out, then I wouldn't be where I am now. So I don't have any regrets around that. I mean, it was intense, but I wouldn't change it.
Roxy, what's yours? You never said yours.
Oh, what's mine? What I would tell my younger self? I think I'd probably say enjoy every day and don't think too much about tomorrow, especially in those like younger years, like I was always sort of like thinking, ahead versus like really living presently and like in the moment, it's like really, and learning from those lessons. Right. And to also not be afraid of failure. I think I would also tell myself, because failure is part of the journey, right? It gets us to the next thing.
Most people that are very successful that we talk to on this show said that it's the way you handle failure too. They're just a little, it's a learning curve. That what is failure? It's only failure because we believe it's something that we feel like we didn't do right, or perfectionism, but there's no such thing as that. All my failures are my greatest stories. And they're honestly like the reason where we are is because of them.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. I like that. Yeah.
Now, Stephen, because Tana and I have this shared fear that we talk about all the time. We're both fearful of death. So we literally have anxiety about it.
Every night, 11 o'clock at night, I'll text her. I'll be like, how's your fear of death tonight?
I know. Are you sweating yet? But yeah, so I'm interested because you kind of have lived life on the edge too, a little bit, with like drugs and alcohol and things like that. So do you have a fear of death?
No, I don't. I don't. Laura has a big fear of death, and we've talked about this. I don't have a fear of death. And I heard a great thing once. Someone said, whatever you think is going to, if there's an afterlife or whatever you think is going to happen when you die, what about if whatever you think is going to happen will happen to you? And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Like it's literally what is going to be will be when you die. So yeah, that really, I mean,
my husband too, like he almost didn't make it from COVID.
Oh, wow.
And he was texting his friends like, this might be it. He didn't text me because he was isolated. He was very sick. He was upstairs. And so we have a whole experience through the whole COVID thing. But I was like, well, were you scared? He was like, well, what could I do about it? Like, what the fuck? He was like, well, what was I going to do? I was like, you have to hold on. That's what you're going to do. Hold on.
You're like, I can't
like
raise
not
kids
die.
on my own.
Like literally, like children, wife downstairs, just don't please die. He was like, well, if it was meant to, it's just going to slip. I was like, no, he was really sick. So, yeah. Just
funny. Like my husband doesn't have it either. He's like, what's going to be is going to be. He's just like, No, it is what it is. I'm like, okay, sure. I wish I had that.
Maybe that's why they're happier than us women who are always trying to control it. I think it's a control thing. I think if you boil down to it, it's control. And women love control. I'm not saying men don't, but women are more, I feel like the women we talk to like to control certain things, their bodies, like they like to control death.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, maybe that is the reason.
And I feel like, especially when you're at a higher level, when you're just, success is important at work, and women, I don't know. I think it all seems to be the same connective tissue.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like that unknown too. It's just kind of like, ugh, like it's there's too much open about that. There's not like we just don't know,
Yeah.
Well, on that depressing note, Stephen, before we go, can you give, there are a lot of people who want to be doing what you guys are doing, want to be creating, want to be on social media. Like I always tell people, it's not always what you think. Like a lot of people do it maybe for the wrong reasons. But like, what is a piece of advice for someone or, who wants to be in your world and create? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I get this quite a lot. People are like, how do I start? I always say, just start. Just don't think about it. Just do it. Just literally start. And if you're authentic to yourself, I really feel like if everyone's different, so if you speak, your truth from your authentic self, it's going to resonate with people, because it's back to that thing about wanting to be sick. When I've made a video that's like, I'm like, that's too exposed, I can't release this, and I'm like, bang, that's it, it's gone. I feel like if you speak your truth from your real authentic self, people are going to resonate with it. So don't overthink it, don't try and be like anyone else, and just start doing it.
That's good advice. Just start. Don't freak out. Don't think you need a master plan, right? Just do it.
Don't think the master plan, because master plans don't tend to work out.
Good point. Good point. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Stephen.
Thank you so much. We will be watching you and admiring from afar. Please have a master plan, though. I know you said you don't have a master plan. Like, have a master plan to, like, I don't know, like, take over the world, whatever it is. Just like, please have one so we can see more of you. Maybe a TV show. The two of you.
Oh, we've got 2 TV shows in the movie. I should have talked about that. See, that's the no.
See?
Well, tell it. Give us a little something. What's going on?
We're doing an animation with CBS of Helen and her family. They're making a TV show of Laura's book, Idiot, and we've a movie coming out next year called The Nanny, which is with Chelsea Lynn, who's amazing.
We've had her on the podcast.
Yeah, I love her.
We had Chelsea Lynn on.
Yeah. We've been coming up with this idea for like a year, and we've been working with some incredibly talented people, and I think we're shooting that early next year. And it's a great story, and it should be really funny.
Amazing. And that's a movie.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We are so appreciative to have you guys, to have you here. Guys, please don't forget to rate, subscribe, and comment. We are Women on Top Official on Instagram.
And Women on Top podcast on Facebook. And we have a Clubhouse group, Women on Top too. And Stephen, can you just tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, Stephen Hilton. Just search my name, Stephen with a PH, and you'll find me.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All on all the social medias.
Thank you. I am Tammin Sursock.
And I am Roxy Manning.
And we are Women on... Take it away, Stephen. Top!